Hi, my name is Melissa Rabronia. I am a trauma-sensitive healing practitioner, and I teach a class called Trauma-Informed Awareness for healing practitioners.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Bradley, and I'm a breathwork teacher and healer and founder of Breathe on It. I'm also a health and wellness coach, and I've known Melissa for many years. I don't know Melissa, maybe 20 years now, and we've
Yes,
become great friends and colleagues as well. We've been doing some work together with some of my breathwork trainings.
yes,
I train people, I certify people in breathwork.
yes.
And a big part of that is being trauma informed, right? It's so important to hold space for people. So, what does it mean to be trauma informed?
I have started describing myself as trauma-informed, but now I'm using the term trauma-sensitive. But
Hmm.
we are talking about trauma-informed awareness. So what it means is that when you're working with people, you are aware that they have been through trauma. You are aware of how trauma affects the nervous system. And basically, you want to be gentle with them and how you are, because they're coming to you with their traumas, with their background, and having the sensitivity to not assume that you know what they're coming to you with.
You've always been great with that. You've always been my biggest teacher about how to be gentle with myself. And I think having held a lot of space for clients as well in breath work, a lot of stuff comes up, as you know, in this type
Yes.
of work. And Uh, I also like that word normalizing. I don't know if that fits into the trauma-informed world or trauma-sensitive world, but just kind of normalizing people's experience and pain
Yes.
can also put people at ease, I think.
Yes, I agree. Why did you want to have a trauma-informed awareness class as part of your breathwork training?
Yeah, so why I wanted to include a trauma-informed class in my breathwork training is because it was a really important piece that I felt was missing. Certainly, it was missing in my certification and my training as a breathwork teacher and healer, and probably a bold statement, but probably the most important piece. Breathwork itself, for example, is not rocket science. There's a strategy and a way to do it, but then the holding space and being sensitive, I feel like that is not always something that people know intuitively, can be taught, you know, and I think really, really important because in order for people to do this kind of deep work, they need to feel extremely comfortable with you,
Hmm.
non-judged, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Safe.
Safe. And so I would say, yeah, that would probably, it's been one of the most important components. So Melissa, I'm curious what it's been like working with some of my breathwork students and that experience of sharing trauma sensitive information with these breathwork teachers and healers.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to work for your breathwork trainers. I love the people that find you, and through you, they find me. And I've been having a wonderful time going through this trauma-informed class with them. I feel like every time I do it, I add a little more. And it's just a nice little intro into the subject of trauma-informed awareness and why it matters to be trauma-informed when you are a healing practitioner, but then especially a breath worker as well. Because we're
Yeah.
dealing with the body, we're dealing with breath. And as you know, there's all those things that we talk about that can happen when you're doing breath work.
Oh, yeah. It brings up a lot of deep emotion and trauma and all sorts of things. And I know that's sometimes the biggest fear that some students have coming in is, oh my goodness, what if I can't? What if I make things worse?
Yes.
What if I, recreate a trauma and it's so this work with you has really helped. And I know that you've given them great confidence and opened their mind to some new ideas. So it's been super valuable.
Thank you.
And I'm curious why it's so important for healing practitioners, breath workers, body workers, or energy healers to understand trauma.
Yeah, so why it's important for healing practitioners and breath workers to understand trauma is to understand, first of all, to normalize that we are traumatized in a sense, but we are all affected by our traumas in a different way. There's big traumas and little traumas, and it's not about comparing traumas, but it's about how the trauma has affected our nervous system and it lives in the body. So it
Hmm.
doesn't matter what we say and think, the trauma is inside and we can see it in the nervous system. So having that understanding, we can then normalize and be gentle and understand when they're having a nervous system reaction, fight, flight, fawn, etc. We can be with their nervous system and help them regulate. And like you said, normalizing that there's an effect, and those are adaptive strategies that their nervous system used in order to survive. So no wonder it's happening to them, right? That they're trying to protect.
That is for sure. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of these patterns are so ingrained, it
Hmm.
can take sometimes a fair amount of work, right? To
Yes.
really not only, I always say feel it to heal it, to feel,
Hmm.
acknowledge, and notice
Hmm.
the pattern and the trauma, and then also figure out a new way to work your life. You would probably use the word, it's part of us, but
Yes.
in a different way that feels
Yes.
better maybe for us.
Yeah. So being more regulated,
Yeah, I
a
love that.
more regulated nervous system and expanding our window of tolerance. But that requires gentleness, pausing, checking in, right?
So, Melissa, you teach an introductory class on trauma-informed awareness. What do participants learn in that class?
Yeah, so that is the class that I offer to breathworkers and other healing practitioners. And what they learn in the introductory class is basically about what trauma is, the different types of trauma, a little bit about how trauma affects the nervous system, how we heal trauma, and then we go into what is not trauma informed, and that's always fun. And that's a list that we can add to, and also some mistakes that I've made. I even mentioned some mistakes that you made, that
I
you've
haven't made
told
any
me. You don't make
mistakes.
any mistakes, right? Just how we learn when we're in situations. And then there's another element where is like what is trauma informed and what is levels of trauma informed care. And then I tell them not to use the term trauma informed, but to actually find where they are on those levels of awareness. So it's like trauma aware, trauma sensitive, trauma responsive, and then there's trauma informed. So most people that are trauma informed should be trauma therapists,
Okay.
right? So
Mhm.
because when you claim that you're trauma informed, in some ways you're saying, hey, if you have trauma, come to me. We don't want that for healing practitioners, but we want you to be trauma sensitive so that you don't re-traumatize them. So of
Right.
course, like the more you learn, the more sensitive you are, the more aware,
Mhm.
you're going to be a better space. But not all healing practitioners need to be trauma informed. But it would be lovely if they were trauma sensitive.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Melissa, you have said that being trauma informed doesn't necessarily mean that you're treating trauma.
Correct, yes. Many healing practitioners think that to be trauma informed, you need to become a trauma therapist, and that is not correct. It means that you learn how to work with the nervous system and you create the safety, you create the environment where your clients feel safe in your presence.
Hmm.
So you're not going to re-traumatize them, and you're going to work with their nervous system, and you're going to create that safety that's needed and the choice for them to feel safe enough to heal, to allow their body to do what it needs to do.
Okay, and I'm curious, do you think that most people are capable of handling their own trauma? What I mean by that is, let's say they go to a practitioner, stuff comes up. Obviously, they're assisted, through their therapist. And I always tell my clients with breathwork, it's really nice to have a therapist to work along with,
Yes.
right? So that team. But do you think people are capable of handling trauma? Like being not re-traumatized, but going through that again, experiencing, acknowledging, and really processing.
So healing is a journey. So what we want to do is we want to teach ourselves or our clients to first learn to regulate themselves, almost like to ground, take care of themselves. And we want to address the trauma in very gentle, like movements, meaning like we're regulating, then we're looking at the trauma, we're regulating, we're going maybe a little bit deeper. In trauma healing, that's known as pendulation.
Hmm.
So we're not just opening up the vault, or like say if like your trauma's in here, we're
Hmm.
not going to go, whoa, right? We might be flooded, overwhelmed, but we might open and take one thing and then be with that, right?
Yeah.
And sit with that and then go back to resourcing, grounding, regulating. So it requires some presence in how you're affected.
Yeah, that makes sense. I liken often breath work as like peeling back the layers, right? The layers of the onion or whatever it is. And one layer gets to the next layer, and then there's something else underneath, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, often I guess you could go deeper into the core, Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I like that process. I like that description. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Melissa, how has your own healing journey affected or influenced the way that you teach?
I bring a lot of my own personal learnings to my teaching. I've walked the path of healing for over 26 years now, I think. And I'll probably continue because healing is a journey, not a destination, as we know. But I definitely feel more healed than ever. And
Yeah.
what does that mean is that I'm more present. I understand my body. I understand my nervous system. So it's life still happens, but it's how I react to those events that changes. So, for example, last week I did have a mini trauma. I had an MRI where they were not very trauma informed with me. So I am claustrophobic. So my nervous system did have a reaction when I was in the machine, and I was startled, and it took me about half a day to regulate my nervous system. So maybe the old me, my old nervous system, maybe that would have been a bigger trauma than what it was, if
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
it does. I have the same trauma and the same
Tell me.
experience with MRIs. No, I used to be able to do them. I can't do them anymore.
Yeah,
I
interesting.
panic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was only my second MRI. And my first MRI, it was a holiday, so there weren't a lot of people in the hospital. I went, and the technician talked to me about it, right? So I felt safe. She grounded me, she gave me the button, and I went in and I was really proud of myself. I meditated, I did focusing, and I survived it. But this
Yeah.
time was very different because they were late. They were trying to rush me, and the person just went, "Okay, here, and press this button." And I was like, "Wait, how long is this going to be?" So I went in with a dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I love that you say that we can, and it's really our job, isn't it, to learn to self-regulate. I mean, even if we're in a relationship where, even if we're not completely treated well, yes, it's the other person, the other partner, but it's really our job in how we react,
Hmm.
how we communicate, and then ultimately, I think how we, yeah, learn
Hmm.
to regulate and take care of ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
No
The
one's coming to save us.
No one's coming to save us, and the new hot is a regulated nervous system.
That is hot.
Yeah.
That's
So
really hot.
I have one of my focusing partners. He literally, when he goes out, he's a therapist. He's looking around and just going, who's regulated and who's not. That it's really funny.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
God.
the more regulated you are, the more present you are, and the less reactive you are. You're gonna just notice that that's a reaction. It's not you, but you're gonna be more centered and grounded and be able to hold those reactions.
I love that. The more regulated you are, the more regulated you are, the more present you are.
Yes.
It's really good.
Hmm. Yeah. So yes, I bring my healing journey is part of my work, and I feel like I am a better space having processed my own life and traumas.
Mhm.
Therefore, I can extend that same space for other people.
Yeah, you do it very beautifully.
Thank you.
So, what are some of the signs that a practitioner is not trauma informed, even if they mean well?
That's a great question. So, some of the signs that somebody is not trauma informed is definitely pushing their clients towards a
Mhm.
certain goal or wanting a certain effect, especially with breath work. I guess when I first experienced breath work, it did feel like a push,
Mhm.
right? Rather than I didn't even connect with my own nervous system. And I actually do remember in one of your classes, there was an invitation to do the breath, but then I found my own rhythm of doing the breath.
Yeah.
And then I was suddenly tapped into like, oh, it must be this. So those kinds of things.
So, pushing, telling people what to do, maybe.
Yes, not giving them breaks, rules, and also not giving them choice. For trauma
Yeah.
survivors, it's important that they're choosing what they're doing and that they feel safe. They can say no at any time. You're working with your clients
Yeah.
on their healing rather than I'm the expert and I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, that's what I love about what you shared with me early on is really the language is so important. And it's like, if it feels comfortable for you, you can
Yes.
do this. Or some of you might want to do this. Others aren't going to want to. Like, that's the kind of language I've been using. I still like to get people to do the work because I believe that, the deeper maybe harder you breathe sometimes, the more they
Yeah.
come up. But there's always that choice
Yes.
and an invitation, like you said.
So everything's an invitation that you can take. So an invitation to go deeper. And then they
Yeah.
can choose and then to sense into it. And then they can, if it's scary, they can stop, they can try again. Yeah.
It's funny, on my very first breathwork experience, as powerful as it was, I remember the facilitator, some of us started to make some noise. As you know, in breathwork, you just kind of
Yes.
sometimes want to express, and it started to make this sound, and he just said, "Everyone be silent."
So that's not trauma informed. Oh, that's suppression.
Yeah, no, don't be making noise, just focus on breathing. So
Wow.
it's very much like,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
want to, but I guess
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
So it almost, as powerful as it was also a little bit of holding
Limiting.
back.
So that's not trauma informed.
There you go. Great
Because
example.
if you want to, because your body knows, your body's wise, and if it wants to, whatever, make noises, that's welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. I've even had people stand up in breathwork class and go stand against the wall or do the
Yeah.
interesting movements. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer. Thanks. So, Melissa, what do you hope practitioners will take away from your trauma-informed awareness class?
What I'm hoping that practitioners will take away from a trauma-informed class is more understanding about trauma, trauma healing, how trauma affects the nervous system, what it means to not be trauma-informed, and what is trauma-informed. A basic understanding of how to create safety and choice for their clients.
I like that. And the big question is, when is your next class?
So I teach every 2, 3 months, and the next class will most likely be in early December. And you can find out more information at healyourheart.love, and you can sign up to my mailing list, and I will inform you.
That's awesome. It's been so great chatting with you today, my friend.
Thank you, you too.